So these top valves here are from the compressor to the banks, which we're going to show you in a second what we're talking about. So the compressor, the valves control the flow from the compressor to these banks of bottles. You can see they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the same as the valves on the compressor out there, the fill station. So these valves here control the flow from the banks of bottles in the back to the SCBA tank fill station. So the first thing you want to do when you come up to the fill station here is to make sure every valve is closed from the top bank and the bottom bank. Just check everything. Then you can put your bottles in. Hook them up. Make sure the valves are closed and all the bleeder valves are closed. Then you can turn on your bottles. That's leaking from somewhere. Apparently this bleeder is a little touchy. You need to turn on your valves to fill. Once both valves are open, these two bottles will equalize, and it should reflect the pressure on the bottle pressure gauge. Now you look at your bottle pressure gauge. This looks like it's just over 3,000 psi. And you look at all 4 banks and you find the bank that is the closest to 3,000. Looks like this one is the lowest out of all the banks, so you'd start here. You open this valve up here, and then you open the fill. And you do this approximately 200, you want to stay around 200 psi per minute so the bottles, your SCBA valves don't overheat. Yeah, sorry, it was already set, I forgot to mention, if this is not set to around 4,900 psi, you want to adjust your gauge or your regulator to match that. Alright, once you don't hear the air flowing anymore, you can shut the valve off, and you shut this bank off, and then you go look for the next bank at the next highest, which looks like it's bank 1, which is just below 5,000. So you open that bank up, and then you continue filling your bottle. So once the bottle is filled, you shut your valves off, open the door, you shut the bottles off, the SCBA bottles, and then you open the bleeder valves. And then you shut off the bleeders and you close the valves. And then you can disconnect the tanks. And you want to look at them and make sure that that they're at least about a 1/4 inch past the green. That way, if they cool, they'll still be in the green. If you need to increase or adjust the outlet pressure, you need to make sure that your a bank bottle has to be open for this pressure to be increased. So and if you start from your lowest bank, that's the max that you'll be able to increase your pressure to. Just keep that in mind when you're doing this, that sometimes you'll have to adjust it when you get to your next bank with higher PSI in it. This roughly matches that. And you want to probably bring it past to 4,900 PSI. So let's say you filled your tank, or your first cascade was done. You would close this bank and go to your next bank, which then would be able to increase your pressure to equal that bank. And so on until you finally reach whatever pressure that you want to be at, which is 4,900.